Hello everybody, welcome back. This is my September music finds. This is vinyl and CD. I've got a lot. Lots of good releases. I think September the 26th was a big one for a lot of releases. A big set that I've been waiting for. All sorts of new albums that have come out, reissues, all that good stuff. And it looks like it's not slowing down because we're going into the last quarter of the year here where holidays are kicking in. People want you to buy stuff for gifts, and it's very, very stressful. But I've got a bunch of stuff. I don't want to make this too long, but let's get started with some CDs first. This is an album by Seth Avett of the Avett Brothers, the solo album. It's called Feed. Interesting album. It's if you know anything about the Avett Brothers, you know they're kind of a folk Americana group. Well, this is about the fifth or sixth solo effort that Seth has put out, and it's like a folk rap album. It's strange. Lots of good lyrics, lots of really good thoughts, but it's a strange album. I've given it one spin. I'm kind of afraid to listen to it again. You'll see I got the vinyl, so spoiler alert, this vinyl will show up in a second. But yeah, interesting. This is a new tribute album called Play On, a Raspberries tribute. Now, the Raspberries, obviously, power pop group in the 70s, Eric Carmen, big songs. I Want to Be With You, Go All the Way. You know, they were kind of all over the stations. Very short-lived group, but they have a pretty big fan base. This is a great two-disc set off of Think Like a Key Music. This has artists like the Lemon Twigs have a couple of songs on here. Darian Sahanaja, who is the keyboardist in Brian Wilson's band. Rick Springfield is on here. John Waite, Lou Graham from Foreigner does a pretty good job. Ron Bonfiglio, also from Brian Wilson's band. He is the husband of Carney Wilson of Wilson Phillips. Ronnie D'Addario, the Lemon Twigs' father, who's also a power pop guy in his own right. Robin Zander from Cheap Trick is on here. Marshall Crenshaw. Really, really good stuff. Lots of good music. Even if you don't know who the Raspberries are, if you like power pop, this is great. Check it out. Last CD, I just did a review on this, well, an unboxing of this. This is the Nick Drake of the Making of Five Leaves Left box set. I won't get into that. Please go check out my video. But it's been long. I've long awaited this, and I'm finally happy to have the CD version of this. Nick Drake. Five Leaves Left. So now let's jump into some vinyl here. It's kind of all over the place. I'll just kind of tell you where I got it as I go along. This is Sarah Jarosz, who is a great singer-songwriter. She's probably about my age, maybe a year or two older. This is her most recent solo album called Polaroid Lovers. If you like, this is kind of a departure from her. This is almost more of like a almost like a soft rock 70s kind of record. Like there's definitely instances of like Linda Ronstadt on here. There's definitely some, maybe some like, I don't want to say like bangles or anything like that, but there's definitely some catchy melodies on here. Check out the song Runaway Train. It's fantastic on here. Sarah Jarosz, Polaroid Lovers. Fun fact, my sister, about 11 or 12 years ago, almost 12 years ago, opened for her for a show. So kind of cool trivia there. This is Back Home Again, John Denver. Now, this is a record that you often find in dollar bins. I have a couple of low-grade copies. This is the 50th anniversary reissue because so many times you find this record and it is beat up and just covered in dust and dirt. I wanted a really clean copy, and I really love what they did with the Rocky Mountain High record last year or 2 years ago. And so nothing special. There's no extra tracks or anything. It's just a remaster. Back Home Again. Great stuff by John Denver. Real Gone Music was having a sale, and this was a record that they had on sale. This is Marty Robbins' Gunfighter Ballads and Trail Songs. The big song on here was El Paso. Also had the song Big Iron, which became kind of a hit recently. I think online it went viral. Cool Water, the old Sons of the Pioneers tune. Down in the Little Green Valley, Running Gun is good. So if you like a good kind of almost like it's a concept record in the country vein. This is really good. Kind of almost like that crooner country, but you can't really tell with the light, but the vinyl's pretty cool. So very happy to have that. Often voted one of the best country albums ever. This was a new record that came out. Well, it's a reissue of a record. I know my buddy Elliot Cruz on his channel talked about this. This is the Tony Rice unit, Backwaters. This is an instrumental, almost like acoustic jazz album. Obviously, Tony is known for his bluegrass picking and singing. Does a lot of collaborative work with people like Ricky Skaggs, Jerry Douglas, Norman Blake. He works with his brothers a lot, and the Rice brothers. I should say he worked with his brothers. But Backwaters is really cool. It came out in '88. Is that right? 82, excuse me. But you've got, his brother Wyatt's on here, Todd Phillips on bass, just a lot of great stuff on here. But he does a version of My Favorite Things, the old Sound of Music track, which Coltrane had a big hit with. And he kind of leans into the Coltrane version of it. But this is fantastic. It's on Kraft, Kevin Gray, all analog. It sounds fantastic. It's acoustic, kind of progressive acoustic bluegrassy jazz, if you like that kind of stuff. So this is fantastic. This was a vinyl find. I went into one of my local record stores here in town, and I got there and they were closing like an hour early, but the guy he's like, go look for like 5 minutes. He was like, I'm not going to kick you out. So I walked around like a couple of the sections that I know I like to look. And I'm lucky I did, because this is an album that I've been looking for. This is the Dillards Back Porch Bluegrass. Obviously, the Dillards, if you don't know them, in that progressive bluegrass world, they also were the Darlin' Boys in the Andy Griffith Show. I know I've talked about them a few times. But this has a couple of their standard song. Doug's Tune was featured on Andy Griffith. Old Home Place is a bluegrass staple that Tony Rice covered later on. It's covered by everybody. You've also got Duelin' Banjo on here. Dooley, which was the big song for them. They do an old gospel song, Somebody Touch Me. Groundhog, which the Avett Brothers actually do now, but I think Doc Watson did that song. But Back Porch Bluegrass, I'm so happy I found this for $10 on the Electro label. So very glad to snatch that up. I did grab a couple of the Rhino High Fidelity reissues that came out last month. I think like a lot of people, I got the Buckingham Nicks reissue. I had never heard the album, but I'm so glad that I bought this. This thing sounds so good. I like this a lot. A lot of people were saying, oh, it doesn't compare to Rumors or Fleetwood Mac, the self-titled, but what does? There's a reason those albums are often on the top 500 lists of all time. This album is fantastic. If you like the 70s singer-songwriter stuff, and if you like Fleetwood Mac but have never delved into this is the one and only album that Buckingham Nicks put out. And it's just fantastic. Check out the song Crystalline, or Crystal on here, is fantastic. And then Crying in the Night is just, it's such a catchy little pop tune. And yeah, Rhino did a great job on this. I'm very happy with that. I also bought this, which is surprising to a lot of people. I bought the Sex Pistols, Nevermind the Bollocks, Rhino High Fidelity. Again, one of the classic albums that's always put up on lists. I'm a big fan of the Ramones and like that early punk sound. I like Green Day, which I know people are like, oh, Green Day, just, they're what they are. But I enjoy it. I like the stuff. And obviously this album was voted often as an influence to, Green Day and, people like that. Very political album, very fast album. Some pretty, disturbing lyrics in some of the songs, but it does rock. I've really enjoyed kind of digging into it a little bit. And again, I think Rhino did a great job. So happy to have that as well. This is a 10-inch record that I bought. It took forever to get here. I think I ordered it probably well before I was married, back in March or so. And it finally came out. This is the kind of compilation, companion piece to the Lumineers' recent album, Automatic. This is called Automatic B-Sides, where you have 3 songs from the record as acoustic versions, as well as they do A Song for You. I guess So Long, I don't think was on the original album, but it came in all sorts of variants. I got the yellow splatter with clear, so I'm a Lumineers completist, so had to get that. Yeah, I just showed the CD a minute ago. Seth Avett, I've already talked about it, but I will show you the record itself. Pretty cool, like a purpley kind of hazy vinyl. Next, I grabbed a few Whatnot records, and these were all like $5 for double records. These are all Elvis Costello later records. I'm not going to say much about them. They're all pretty good. None of them are great, but I got Look Now by Elvis. I got Hey Clock Face by Elvis. Again, these were like $5, and they're brand new. And then The Boy Named If, Elvis Costello. So again, happy to have those. I'm seeing Elvis Costello. I'm filming this on Friday, the 3rd of October. I'm seeing Elvis this coming Sunday. So very excited for that. First time seeing him. Another Whatnot pickup. This is the CCR Live at the Royal Albert Hall from Kraft that came out a couple of years back in conjunction with a documentary on Netflix that leads up to the show and actually has the whole show at the end. This was like $7 or $8 on Whatnot. But it's interesting. The hype sticker was labeling it as the Target silver colored vinyl, when in reality this was the Kraft, I think, special edition, like green, which is much cooler. So mislabeled hype sticker, but really, really solid album. It's all the big hits up until this point. In 1970, you have Fortunate Son, Traveling Band, Bad Moon Rising, Good Golly Miss Molly, but they also cover The Night Is the Right Time. They do Midnight Special. Just solid rock and roll. Exactly what you want from CCR. Next, I got a couple of Real Gone Music Halloween specials that have come out this last month. I've got a few more coming in, I think, today. This is a cool record. I know Chris Prophy showed this. I kind of steered him toward it. This is an album called Ghost Ballads by Dean Gitter. And, well, let me show you the record. It's essentially, it's all acoustic, kind of a smoky, hazy there. It's kind of a acoustic, like traditional folk, like English folk songs, like from like the early 1900s, late 1800s. Some of them date back 1700s. He does a song called Finnegan's Wake, which is a staple in like pubs and stuff. So it's not one of those traditional, like, you know, kitschy, like scary, you know, sound effect kind of albums, though the cover makes you think, you know, like the Munsters or something. But it's really just Dean, kind of has a Burl Ives sound to his voice, singing with acoustic guitar, and that's it. And it's traditional folk ballads, and it's really, really cool. Dean Gitter, Ghost Ballads. This is the other one from Real Gone. This is kind of a misleading package. This is Philly Joe Jones, the drummer, Blues for Dracula. And you can see, you know, this campy, there's Philly Joe, kind of dressed up like Dracula with a bat hanging on his drumstick. And I'll show you the vinyl too. It's kind of like this like Halloween-y throw up looking vinyl. But other than the title track, which is called Blues for Dracula, which he did this like a Bela Lugosi style speaking part over top of just this, you know, blues song. Everything else he does is just straight ahead jazz. Trick Street, Fiesta, Tune Up, and Owl. I really enjoyed it. Again, it's one that I will just listen to at Halloween because of the opening track. But if you didn't have that opening track, it would just be a solid, you know, jazz album. And again, that's from Real Gone. You've also got who's on here with him? Nat Adderley, Julian Priester, Johnny Griffin, Tommy Flanagan, Jimmy Garrison, Philly Joe, recorded in 1958. So Blues for Dracula, pretty campy cover, but I like it a lot. This was another Whatnot pickup, again, like $10. This was a Kraft Contemporary Records Acoustic Sounds. Shelly Manne and His Men at the Black Hawk. Again, just pretty solid jazz. And yeah, crazy that some of those, you know, Whatnot auctions, you know, have the records for so cheap. So very, very cool. Another couple of, one more jazz related album. This is also from Real Gone. This was part of the sale that I got the Marty Robbins. This is the Doug Carn Trio. If you like organ jazz. This is fantastic. He would end up on the Black Jazz label. I have another one of his records on Black Jazz, but this was his debut. They have it on Savoy Records, and again, kind of a cool gray, smoky looking vinyl there, similar to the other record that I just showed. What was it? The CCR, no, the Dean Gitter record. But yeah, it's cool organ jazz, has a great groove to it. Yeah, it's just solid stuff. This was a find that I saw on Amazon. This is a Nick Drake tribute called The Endless Colored Ways. Just 2 records of Nick Drake cover tunes. Fontaine's DC is on here. David Gray is on here. He had a hit or 2. I'm not going to take this out, but it also came with a one-sided 45 of Nick Drake doing Tomorrow Is a Long Time by Bob Dylan. So pretty cool. Yeah, this came out in 23, I think, 2023. But yeah, Nick Drake, gotta have it because it's Nick Drake. And then this was reissued on the Tom Petty website. Again, nothing special to it other than it was reissued on vinyl, which it's not been on vinyl too much. Highway Companion by Tom Petty. This was his last solo album from 2006, produced by Jeff Lynne. But you've also got, Mike Campbell is on here, all over the record. But some great stuff on here. Down South is a beautiful song. Goodbye Golden Rose, Saving Grace is fantastic. Square One, but just a solid record. It's always compared to, a mix of Full Moon Fever and Wildflowers. So it has the rock stuff, it's got the Jeff Lynne sound, but it's also got a kind of a stripped back nature like Rick Rubin. So Highway Companion, really, really solid stuff. So there you go, everybody. I try to make it shorter, I really did, but I don't want to just show the records and not tell you a little bit about what they sound like. So that does it for me. Let me know what you think. Thank you to all the subscribers. Again, I'm trying to get to 2,000 subscribers, but I'm happy with what I have right now, and I just appreciate all the comments and discussions that we have on these videos. So in the meantime, y'all be good, take care, and we will see you on the next one. Bye now.